Welcome to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup Podcast. If someone in your life has BPD, you know how difficult it can be, and you need to learn how to heal from those toxic relationships. And that's where this show comes in. Expert education, expert knowledge, expert insight, and delivered with compassion and empathy. With your host, counselor and trauma recovery coach, AJ Mahari. To purchase and book sessions with AJ, go to ajmahari.ca. Now your host, AJ Mahari.
A couple things before we start this episode. I have a website for this podcast, and it's at survivingbpdrelationshipbreakup.com. Interactive website. It's a website is its own feed for the podcast and also for my YouTube channel. So if you'd like to get a lot of the videos that aren't in this podcast, you'd like to check those out, you can do that at survivingbpdrelationshipbreakup.com. I would just like to encourage you to please leave a 5-star rating for this podcast if you find it helpful, to help this podcast keep growing and keep reaching more and more people who could benefit from this content. I get a lot of people with BPD rating it at 1 star because, they have all these problems with what I'm saying, and they think it's horrible and disgusting and all that kind of BPD kind of stuff. And I'm now offering a new service, and it's basically you can get access to me off hours. So what time might that be? Who knows, right? It could be early in the morning, like after midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. time. It could be 9, 10, 11 a.m. in the morning also. Eastern, which might be a wholly different time wherever you are. Anyway, this service, you can check it out. It's called Gotta Talk. It's at ajmahari.ca/Gotta Talk. The Gotta Talk service will be $75 US for 30 minutes. It will be almost immediate unless it gets really busy and I'm dealing with a few people and a few half hours in a row. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Once I see your purchase come through, and I will be monitoring this, then I will get back to you and I will send you a Zoom link and we will get together. ajmahari.ca/Gotta Talk if you just really gotta talk. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Going no contact after a BPD relationship breakup. No contact seems to be really easy, I would think, to understand intellectually, but no contact is such a struggle for people who are the ex of somebody with BPD, whether you were ghosted, discarded, or you broke off the relationship, or something semi-mutual happens, because that happens for some people too. So no contact continues to be a humongous, kind of mysterious, emotionally big, struggling aspect area because some people, does it matter much if you're no contact because your borderline ex chose it or because you chose it? Because for some people, I can't say especially right after breakups only, because a lot of people, a year, like months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, plus down the road, maybe you've had no contact with your borderline ex. Was that his or her choice, or was that your choice? Or did they block you so you blocked them? Or did you block them so they couldn't get in touch with you? But regardless of however that went, if you're sitting there sort of in no contact, or you are no contact, now, whether that's them and you can't contact them, or whether it's you and etc., but people often leave roads open or the odd area open for somebody. A BPDX, you might block them all over the place and leave something open, watch the social media. So what is the major deal with people in no contact, or when the borderline goes no contact? And it's still you, as somebody with some degree of codependency, whether moderate, significant, or severe, doing what you've always done, for lack of a better way to put it, because you don't know what else to do. You are still seeking validation of what this person with BPD did to you. You want them to know. You want them to get it. You want them to take responsibility if, in fact, you don't want to go back with them a slippery slope of let's try again and it'll be all better now. No, it won't. And you, as a person with codependency, whether you realize it or not, you are just putting out what you need to learn how to hold inside and be able to work with yourself with boundaries. You're just going to seek validation from the most invalidating person that you've ever been with and ever known who's not gonna have changed. No contact from a person with borderline personality disorder in our relationship types, or your BPDX, or on off again, or they blocked you, or you blocked them, or you blocked each other. No contact, it needs to be said here straight up and bluntly for you to hear. No contact is not a strategy. No contact doesn't mean contact. No contact doesn't mean you're not talking to them, you blocked them, or they blocked you, whatever the case, but like you're watching their social media and now they've unblocked you. What's it mean? Or the reverse of that might be you blocked that person with BPD, X or whomever was in your life with BPD, and it's hard and it's very painful, and you blocked them, but you've left an avenue open somewhere. And there's many reasons people do all of this, because it's really hard to go no contact or have somebody block you. But here's what I really want you to know from the outset here. No contact is not a strategy, nor should you consider it a strategy of a borderline, whether they might be using it this way or not. No contact is not a strategy to try to get your ex to think about you, or for the borderline to try to get you to think about them more, as if you're not thinking about them enough, depending where you're at with this. So no contact is not a strategy to get the person with BPD to think about you more, wonder if they're thinking about you. No contact isn't a strategy for anything. It's an action that people need to undertake as a major step toward giving yourself the space and the time to then find someone to work with. I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you, to do your healing and recovery work, not only from codependency from the relationship, but to break the trauma bond. And whenever people are still struggling with contact, no contact, I'm in no contact, is my ex going to think about me? The borderline blocked you and they're wondering, and they might come back, but they don't all come back. This whole mess is when people still are under the spell, the fantasy bond aspect of the trauma bond. So no contact is not supposed to be anything or used for anything to try to get this result or that result or the other. No contact is something that you do for yourself, whether they blocked you or not, and stop watching their social media, etc., so you can start to focus on precious you and start to get into a healing recovery process. And no contact is often the most difficult thing people have to do, the most painful, and it also makes people feel so sorry for the borderline because they've hurt you, they've traumatized you, they've turned your world upside down, but you're in your codependency, you're like, but I don't want to hurt them. I'm so afraid I'm going to hurt them because, they have that horrible abandonment fear and etc. The point is, no contact is an action that more often than not needs to be taken in all other kind of relationship types besides significant other at some point if you're going to heal, because you can't learn more about BP to cope better with an untreated borderline. No, you can't. So no contact is not a strategy, not a game, not a way for codependents to manipulate borderlines, and you shouldn't let it be a way that your borderline ex or whomever gets to manipulate you again. No contact is serious business, painful, difficult, and I work with helping lots of clients to stay no contact when you're barely hanging on by the fingernails, but you want to make change in your life. But yes, it's very painful. Not gonna pull any punches on that fact. But no contact is not a strategy. It's an action taken toward working your way out of the trauma bond. A person commented on my YouTube channel recently to a short I did, these shorts and all kinds of comments, And of course, in shorts, everything's just a piece of something else, right? In a way. So this short was called Ignoring a BPD Doesn't Work. However, it's been misinterpreted from what I said by many people so far. The commenter says, "Hi, AJ. So does no contact get a person with BPD to think about the ex partner?" Well, and in answer to that question, okay, well, here's the thing that nobody likes me saying, or doesn't want. A lot of people don't want to hear me say this. All people with BPD aren't the same. So whether it's a borderline male or borderline female, and that's your ex, they're not all the same. Some you will never hear from again, especially if they monkey branched away from you, if they ghosted, or like in fact, if you never hear from them, that's an utter discard, right? There are many people with BPD you will never hear from again because they simply do this like they're not really connected to you, but now they're super like there's not even like a quarter of an inch of a thread connecting them to you. They devalued you totally. They dumped you. They betrayed you, etc. And they're never ever going to think about you because you're out of sight, out of mind. They're never going to think about you. They're never going to contact you. They just move on in a kind of way that is, I guess the best way to put it is like fragmented, right? Something just fragments off again and off they go, and they'll repeat the same behavior in the next relationship, but then that person will end up, discarded, fragmented off, out of sight, out of mind. That's a lot of people with BPD. But maybe there's a lot more people with BPD that aren't exactly like that. And so when you're no contact, whether it was their choice or your choice or half and half or whatever the case may be, then there are fair number, percentage, don't know what it is exactly, of people with BPD that will, even if they ghosted you or it's been like a discard because it's been a long time, even if they ghosted or discarded or monkey branched like away from you, they will at some point potentially hoover. They might be, if you've gone no contact from them, then yeah, they might be contactable. Who knows if they'll respond or not? But you see, there's a certain percentage of people with BPD out there untreated, or maybe patterns of and not even diagnosed, that they're going to feel abandoned by you, whether you broke it off or they actually ghosted and discarded you. It doesn't really matter. So, with that, yeah, there are some people, it's not the no contact, it's just they'll monkey branch, they might move on, they'll be with someone else, they'll go back to an ex, and maybe after, like, the breakup, however that happens or whatever that looks like. And you're in no contact for whatever reason, because maybe you chose it, although it's hard, but people have to make that choice. It's actually a really healthy one. But whatever the reason you're in no contact is, whether your choice, their choice, etc. Yeah, there are a lot of people with BPD. They're going to be feeling abandoned. They're going to be feeling rejection sensitivity. They're going to be feeling like it's all your fault. So yeah, they're needy. And they might come after they try something else with somebody else, or they might not, but like often they do and it doesn't work out. And then they start looking for exes to go back to. And they come crawling back sometimes. They really do. They might hoover you, or you might get some kind of, even if you got them blocked, they'll find a way to contact you probably. And that's not a positive thing because going no contact is really important. But the point is, yes, there's a lot of people with BPD that will do that kind of crawling back, that, maybe like even begging, oh, I'm so sorry, which is the BPD apology, non apology. I'm so sorry. And then insert here, blah, 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 blah. They're telling you what you want to hear. It doesn't mean anything other than that. When the person commented, so does no contact get a person with BPD to think about the ex partner? My answer is still, with a vast majority of people with BPD, no, not at all. How can I say that after what I just said? Simple. There's a percentage that might want to recontact, might show up at your front door, might go through friends, go through family, do everything to get your attention because they want you to contact them back. And you might think, oh, wow, maybe you've heard a little bit. No, maybe they're sorry. And maybe they understand now. And they'll say all this too if you listen to them. Point is, though, are they thinking about you? No, they're not thinking about you. even if they're trying to chase you down, even the stalking, even like any kind of contact after you go no contact or they, whatever the case, they're not thinking about you. What do I mean by that? Well, they're thinking about themselves. They're all up in their own emotions, overwhelmed, don't know how to cope with what's going on with their what's going on in their lives. They lose a sense of identity when they ghost you, discard you, or you break up with them, or some semi-mutual, I don't know what happens in all kinds of different situations. They're not thinking about you. They're needing what they need. They're wanting what they want. Oh, I could go back to him, or I could go back to her because, and the thing is, it's not always planned or conscious either, but it doesn't matter because they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about how to get you again, how to get you back, how to, well, maybe fool you consciously or unconsciously. They are thinking not about you, the ex of the person in PPD. They're thinking about what they need. And I'm not saying they're all calculating or knowingly doing this, but they might want to come back to use you all over again. But make no mistake about it, there isn't really re-idealization. You'll just have the experience of intermittent reinforcement, and the whole thing's going to spiral again because nothing has ever changed. But no, there's a lot of people with BPD never going to think about you again. Some that you might think if they recontact or you somehow contact them and you get back into some crazy, toxic, trauma bonded communication that they're thinking about you, but they're not. Even if they get through to you, they're thinking about themselves. And I would challenge people to think about that seriously because don't you already know that that's what they did? That they were thinking about themselves, that they were using you when you let go of the honeymoon phase and the idealization stuff. Don't you know, in the whole rest of the time, they were using you. They weren't loving you. How many times did you try to talk to them about something that they didn't care? They couldn't hear you. They don't understand, whatever. How many times did you have something upsetting or maybe really traumatizing happen in your life while you were with them and they were nowhere to be found when you needed them? I've heard of people like clients expressing to me before, like, they're with a person with BPD and it's on, off, on, off. So in this case, I'm just thinking of like several men, clients that have said this type of thing to me, right? So they're on and off with a borderline woman, and then, they hear that a parent is ill. And then what happens is, so they want to get in a back on moment, you want to get your partner or your person you're dating or trying to work out a relationship with, you expect this person to be there for you, right? To hold you, to have empathy, to support you if you have a parent suddenly gets ill or something else happens, or even like, I'm not minimizing, but if your dog dies or something like that, just, you are now stressed out, you're bereft, you're grieving, or a parent or another loved one or someone in your family, good friend is sick or something happened, and they're nowhere around for you for that. So ask yourself, if you experienced anything like that, do you think they were thinking about you? If you recontact them, if you try the trauma bonded, holy cow, fantasy bond talk of like, it'll be better this time, they'll get it this time, they'll hear me this time. Uh, they're not listening to you. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own wants and needs. And they're also thinking in really childlike ways, often short term, and without any understanding of what they're going to have happen, whether they are aware of it or not, right? What's going to happen in breakdown, and you're going to experience the exact same pain all over again. This commenter says, it's been 4 months that, and she's ghosted me. Wait a minute. It's been 4 months that, I don't know what that word is because it cuts off. It's just not there. THA. It's been 4 months something. And she's ghosted me. After 4 years, she monkey branched off. I have 4 years worth of things I haven't said to her that I've had inside of me and feel I need to call her out on. Would she even care? So I'm not sure if the no contact was this person's choice or not, but it sounds like to me, if I'm reading this correctly, that the commenter's been no contact for 4 months, but that there was a 4-year relationship. Now, did that just she monkey branch and end that 4 months ago? Or, yeah, probably something like that. I'm sorry this is not clear. But the clear part is the commenter saying, I have 4 years worth of things I haven't said to her that I've had inside of me and feel I need to call her out on. Would she even care? Well, first of all, if you're no contact, or even if you're not fully no contact, you need to go no contact. Secondly, you have 4 years worth of things that you haven't said to her. The commenter says that I've had inside of me, and now you feel like you need to call her out, and you're wondering, would she even care? Well, no, she wouldn't care. Has she ever showed you that she cared about anything that you really tried to say? When you really tried to get heard because you were really feeling hurt or whatever you were feeling at different times? And if you are in no contact right now, and even if somebody isn't in no contact, but it's not going well, and it's a breakup or ghosting or maybe going to turn into a discard, it's so important to know that the 4 years or however long period of time, insert for anyone else listening who resonates, the 4 years worth of things, or the 2 weeks, or the 6 months, or the 9 months, or the year and a half, whatever it is for other people, worth of things that you haven't said to your ex, that you have still inside of you, and feel that you need to express to that person, feel that you need to call them out. Because what this is usually a repetition compulsion of people with codependency. And most people who are the ex of somebody with BPD have, to one degree or another, some codependency. This is your struggling inside, no doubt, with everything that you went through and how you weren't seen or heard in the relationship or prior. And now things are building up, and all these years later, or 4 months later since the contact in this person's situation, if I've got that right. So 4 years worth of things are still inside. I would just say I understand a lot about why people would think that going back, breaking no contact, or trying to get in touch with the ex, or however difficult or not that might be, if they're the ones who are no contact. Either way, it's not worth breaking no contact to do that. Why? Because number one, what you're feeling inside, for anyone beside with the commenter and anyone else who resonates with this, whatever you're feeling inside, it's a lot of things that are undone, that are still hurting you, and you want to call that person out on them. Well, I can honestly say, okay, so I should never say never, right? So, but in my 35 years of experience in working with clients, and that's a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm still working with clients out here to work with you if you resonate with me. The really painful truth about this is if you do risk yourself and no contact, and you've got all this stuff that you still want to say to them, vent to them about, try to be seen and heard about, a lot of people have to be very careful, because whether you realize it or not, you probably want a do-over in the relationship. That's not healthy. And especially after the longest, the more time that goes by, one would hope that you're starting to, that you're reaching out to get help, that you're working through this, that you're starting to care a little bit more about yourself and focus more on yourself. But a lot of people struggle with that. The other thing is, so in like 98.9% to 99% of people that I've, okay, people that I've worked with, being in this area, doing some content out there, etc. I've been online for 30 years doing this in different ways, writing, yes, podcasting before podcasts were born, doing videos on my websites before YouTube was born. I haven't seen somebody turning back to an ex, or an ex coming back to whoever or somehow you can get in touch with each other again. I've never seen when the ex tries to hold the person with BPD accountable, as this commenter says, 4 years worth of things I haven't said to her that I have inside of me and feel I need to call her out on. No, A, she's not going to care. B, you need to realize that even thinking about doing that, feeling like you need to do that, it's codependency and it's part of a trauma bond. And it's saying something with all due respect and empathy to anybody who has codependency and or still doesn't want to look at the codependency and is still denying that. You're over your boundaries and limits with with what you feel inside. What you feel inside is what you feel inside, right? I understand that. And it can be devastatingly painful and extremely difficult to sit with, or to like you need to get into a healing recovery process to work that through, talk about it, get heard. That's how I help a lot of clients in those areas as well as others. But the other thing is that when, like, as a commenter says, right, 4 years worth of things that they haven't said, and saying them wouldn't change anything. Okay, that's the other sad reality. And wanting to call someone out. Well, no, they're not going to care. But more to the point, what do you think, to the commenter and anybody else that this resonates with? What do you think that's about inside of you? That, it's still ongoing for you. What's it? The trauma bond. All that they did that hurt you, how they might have betrayed you as well and more, traumatized you, turn your life upside down, your BPDX, and you still are carrying all this inside. Now, after like 4 months of doing that with no contact, or after a 4-year relationship, or 5-year or 10-year, or 3-month or 6-month or a year and a half relationship, all these different lengths of time, that the relationships just aren't what people think they are. Having that built up stuff inside and feeling like you just want to let it all blow, because it's sort of like, maybe you kind of think, well, I don't care if he or she listens to me. I want them to hear me, and it's really an effort at trying to hold them accountable, and that rarely ever works, especially when they're untreated or not well enough treated, or they're farting around in therapy that isn't like designed for people with BPD, with therapists that don't understand it, who are just listening to them and validating them at a cost for whatever per week. Nothing's changing there with those people. So what's inside of you? Not only the commenter asking this question, but what's inside of so many people going through this? It's like, you believe that if you vent or you get heard, you might get heard or seen, and that would be great. But that's somehow going to help your pain. It won't, because they really probably won't hear you or see you. They'll deny, they'll deflect, they'll darvo you, that you'll get into a jade conversation, in air quotes, and you'll need to be justifying, defending, arguing, trying to explain what you're talking about, and they're deflecting and denying, and I didn't do that, I don't remember that, what are you talking about? Oh, I've heard all this crap from you before, so see you later. But the thing is, it's a lack of boundaries inside loved ones. So all y'all out there without, sorry for that, it's not really English. All of you out there who are not personality disordered, and you're the ex of somebody with BPD, and you got all these things inside of you that you've never said, or maybe you said never got heard, either way, and now you just want to call them out. Well, whether you've done some active healing or not, just if you've been no contact because you can't contact them, or you've also chosen then to block them, any kind of no contact that you've been experiencing for even like 10 minutes, don't break it. Don't undo it, because it's not the way forward. It's the way back to cycle around getting hurt again, intermittent reinforcement, whether they hear you or not, whether you want a relationship recycle or retry or not. These things don't work out. And so what's happening inside of you when you feel this way? Well, you're really hurt. You're really wounded, and you're still trauma bonded. And you need to be able to work through these feelings that you have and all the things you want to say. You need to say them like to somebody like me out here. I'm out here to work with you, but I resonate with you. You need to say them to a therapist. You need to be heard, validated, have your pain witnessed, and that's just the beginning. But wanting to tell them, people think it would feel so rich. Like, maybe, I'll finally feel better if I do this. But no, it usually backfires, like to the tune of like 98%. It backfires. Whether you get into relationship recycle or not, it backfires because these things aren't going to work out. They're just trauma bonded, fantasy bonded, betrayal bonded friggin' nightmares that so many people get confused with, oh, I'm being loved again. Oh, we're back together. It's going to be great now. And seriously, no contact is a beginning step to the way forward to giving you some space and time to get into therapy, to do some healing recovery, process work, grief, detaching, unenmeshing, figuring out who you think you are now because you've lost yourself. What do you need to rebuild? What do you need to not only rebuild, but build that you didn't have in the first place inside of yourself in terms of boundaries, self worth, self esteem, self respect? Because of woundedness in childhood, which is what creates codependency, causes codependency in people's lives. So I would just say that no contact to get a person with BPD to think about the ex partner. No, I mean, and that's not a reason to go no contact. But no contact won't get them ever to think about you because though it might get some of them to try harder to recontact you or give you like all these mysterious signs on social media, which it's not really healthy to try to read what are they trying to say now on social media. But if you, even if you think, if you can get attention from them somehow, do you really think they're thinking about you? They're not thinking about you because after the idealization phase in these fantasy bonded, trauma bonded relationships, they ain't thinking about you anymore. It's all about them. It's all about what they need. It's all about what they want. Don't you remember walking on all those eggshells, trying to make things work, everything being impossible, you losing yourself? People should never, and I know there are people out there that give this like bloody quote advice, unquote. People should not ever go no contact thinking it's going to pull your ex back to you. Because even if it does, with some people, BPD might want to recontact you. They're just going to give you the siren song, swan song. Oh, I'm so sorry. I get it now. I can't believe how I hurt you. There'll be no like details, or even if there are a few juicy details and you think, oh, they get it now. No, they don't. And they're still thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you. And if they do think about you again and you do have any contact with them again and you break your no contact or their no contact, but any no contact, you're falling backwards. And you're going back into a cycle to one degree or another the intermittent reinforcement or lack thereof, but just the trauma bond, rewounding, re traumatizing experience. No contact is a choice and a decision, and a very tough one to A, make, and B, hold, and it requires help. It's not a do it yourself proposition. Like, no contact isn't a strategy, no contact is a commitment that you want to make to yourself to give yourself space and time to heal. And no contact in the beginning for most people feels impossible. Not for all, but for lots of people. It hurts like hell. And you're not gonna feel like it's the thing to do. You're not gonna want to do it because you have these impulses, repetition, compulsion patterns of feelings inside that you just impulsively want to recontact, reconnect. You for whatever reason, or you just want to ream out the borderline because you still want them to know how much they hurt you, and they kind of don't ever take that in if they're untreated, and they don't care about that because they're too busy caring about their own emotionally dysregulated, etc., yada yada battle to survive. So there's no room for you there. And even if you reconnect with them and you blow your no contact and your chance to get into healing recovery and you need to work with somebody, and again, I remind people I'm out here if I resonate with you. And by the way, if you get to my calendar and you think, oh my God, none of those times will ever work for me, and email me, because if you purchase a session, you want to book a couple sessions, I can find time for people when people have a need, okay, within reason. So no contact may or may not make a borderline ex think about you in a sense, but they're not really thinking about you. They're thinking about what they need. They're thinking about what they want. Whether it's been months or longer since you've been ghosted, and however long your relationship was, and being monkey branch, like yes, you were betrayed and you've been traumatized, but why on earth want to go back and call them out? Because no, they don't care. And it's you going in the wrong direction for yourself. And it's still you, as somebody with some degree of codependency, whether moderate, significant, or severe, doing what you've always done, for lack of a better way to put it, because you don't know what else to do. You are still seeking validation of what this person with BPD did to you. You want them to know, you want them to get it, you want them to take responsibility if in fact you don't want to go back with them a slippery slope of let's try again and it'll be all better now. No, it won't. And you, as a person with codependency, whether you realize it or not, you are just putting out what you need to learn how to hold inside and be able to work with yourself with boundaries. You're just going to seek validation from the most invalidating person that you've ever been with and ever known, who's not gonna have changed. And like I've said so often, when there's painful adversity is one choice, and or trying to get the fix of the intermittent reinforcement again, so the easier way, so you think, you need to dig in your heels, get help. Okay, so I'm out here to help you. If you resonate with me, get help, get support, dig in your heels, and know that the healthy pathway forward to change, to breaking the trauma bond into your healing and recovery, which is the most important thing in your life, not the borderline X, you need to go no contact. And you need to be able to learn to put yourself first. And another obstacle with this is often for people, oh, but I don't want to hurt my BPDX because, they're really afraid of abandonment. And if I go no contact and whatever, never minding everything they've done to you, people will say, well, if I go no contact, then I'm going to be hurting them. Well, that's codependency. That's putting somebody else ahead of yourself. This is what you need to get into therapy to stop doing, to understand why you do it, how to undo it, and what hurt you in childhood that led you to this pattern, and how are you going to correct this pattern. So, no contact is not a game. No contact should never be used to try to get a person with BP to, quote, think about you again, or miss you, or feel abandoned by you, because those things can happen, but not for every person with BPD by a long shot. And even if they do miss you or think about you, they're not going to be ready for you to try to hold them accountable. In other words, call them out, blast them, because maybe you don't care anymore if like you'd be fine if like it doesn't happen or you don't get back with them. You just want them to hear your anger now because you just feel this humongous need to say all the things you never said. It's taking the wrong direction. That is in some ways the most injurious direction you can take, but it feels easier because you're going to dump it all on them. They're going to care, or no, they're not. But you think you're going to get hurt. No, you're not. You're going to get re injured, and then you're going to be angry with yourself on top of it. So when there's this adversity and difficulty, and you feel like you so need to call them out because you're trying to hold them accountable and or trying to get them back, neither of which you can do. Or even if you get them back, it's not going to work. And then you're going to end up more traumatized. You're going to lose more financially, emotionally, spiritually. And the stress that really leads often too many people that are with borderline people for untreated borderlines for too long, leads people having all kinds of health consequences, like physically, as well. And it's not worth it. Going no contact, whether they first do it and then you do it second or you do it first, it's a commitment to you is what it's for. It's an action that is painful and difficult to do, to take, and to hold. But you need to take it, get into therapy, learn how to hold it, working through the process, because this goes back to childhood, why so many people with codependency want to call out the borderline X, want them to finally hear you no matter what. It's what's happening inside your wounded inner child that a parent never heard you about. And believe me, doing the family of origin work and the inner child healing work will take away the desire, the urges, the impulsivity, all the feelings that you need to call them out. They need to hear what you have to say, damn it. They need to finally get it. Well, if you need them to get it, for you to feel better, for you to be able to heal, like, A, that doesn't do it, even if they heard you, because nothing changes and they can't fix all the damage. And B, that's not your way forward. That's your way backwards. That's your way to losing more of yourself. Please know, no contact, despite what some of the coachies out there say, is not a game. No contact is an action that you need to take as a step, and usually one of the first steps, not always in the order of step number one, but a massive step toward investing in you, learning how to focus on you, and wanting to heal and work in a recovery and healing journey. Like, I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you. Doing that work and really committing to it for yourself, to heal yourself, to be able to go forward, because there's no going forward with using no contact as a strategy, or you went no contact because they went no contact, but you really don't like the no contact because you want to express yourself, etc. Express yourself in therapy. Learn where this is coming from. Yes, a lot of it's coming from your borderline ex, but there's stuff that was going on inside of you before, and still is, but you're not consciously aware of it. And I'm not saying you're a borderline, no. But the thing is, you need to know how you got there and why this person is so important, and why, when they won't give you any validation, you're losing your mind because you don't know how to validate yourself. And many people have lost themselves. So please know that no contact is a major step that I often have to work with clients to help them to get there. It's this is big stuff, big wounded stuff. But no contact is a serious action that people need to take for themselves in their own healing recovery journeys. And it's hard, and it's difficult, and it can increase rumination and cognitive dissonance. And then what this comment is talking about, all these feelings and things that they want to say to this borderline ex of theirs that's been building up for 4 years. It's not the ex who's going to care. It's not the ex who needs to hear from you. You don't want to share it there. You might want to share it there, but what I'm trying to say is not healthy to share it there. And you need to think about how you don't really have that boundary inside of yourself emotionally. I just want to call him or her out. I just want to, ream them out. I want them to hear everything they did to me, and they won't listen for long either, usually. But I want to do this because, damn it, they need to hear me, and they need to know what they did. And it's not the way to solve anything. It's a way to re-injure yourself. It's a way to volunteer to have the borderline smack you all over the place again. And I don't mean that, like just deflect, deny, etc., and just like walk away from you again if that's what happened. So no contact is not a strategy to get the borderline to come your way. Going no contact, will they sometimes try to contact you, etc.? Yeah, but you have to remember, they're not thinking about you. They just might need you like they needed you before. How'd that work for you? You probably don't have any more to give them, and you shouldn't, because you need to start giving all that you've been giving to a borderline. You need to give it to yourself. You need to learn why you give so much to someone else, in this case your borderline ex, and you got so little, and yet you still feel like the answer to feel better would be to express all this to them. A, if you can even get their attention, and B, they won't listen for long. And whether they're thinking about you after you go no contact or it's no contact, however it happened, it doesn't matter, because if they're, quote, thinking about you, unquote, they're not really thinking about you anyway. So remember, no contact is not a strategy to work on contact or conversation or communication with them later or some other point. No contact is not a strategy to make them feel something so they'll come back to you. Because if they come back to you, they're coming back to hurt you all over again. They're coming back unchanged. They're coming back, and you're going to get the intermittent reinforcement hit. And you're going to be like all in your head thinking you got this, you got it now. You know more about BPD, you'll be okay. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because you're still looking for the person that you fell in love with who isn't even home. No contact needs to be for you. It's not a strategy. It's an action and a commitment that makes the healing and recovery journey much more possible.
You've been listening to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup Podcast with your host, counselor and trauma recovery coach, AJ Mahari. For more or get sessions with AJ, go to ajmahari.ca. See you next time.